Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to head up to the Highlands here in Scotland once again, and this is a beer that I've wanted to review for quite a wee while actually. So for this one we're going to return to Cromarty Brewing Company, and today we're having a taste of the Man Overboard, which is a double IPA, and it comes in at 8.8%. So it should be really nice. This beer's actually been out for a little while, but since I've been living in Sweden I've just not been able to get around to reviewing this one, but I'm sure it will be a pretty nice beer. It's very highly rated. It had a 95 overall on Rate Beer, and as I've said before, my past experiences with Cromarty Brewing Company have been really quite positive, so definitely looking forward to this one, and I hope you guys enjoy my take on this beer. So anyway, as is usual with my beer reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery. If you want to get straight to the tasting, of course, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews I've done from Cromarty Brewing before. This is review number 6 or 7, something like that from these guys, and there no doubt will be more in the near future. There's all the usual social media. If you want to see more beer reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel, of course, has a geography-based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city or state, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlist of beers from different countries. There is one there, of course, for all the Scottish beers that I've reviewed for you. That's constantly being added to, and as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys, and the support that you give the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Cromarty Brewing Company then. So these guys are located on the Black Isle, which is about 20 miles to the north of Inverness, and historically the Black Isle region was really famous for its malt production, which was used locally in a lot of the whisky distilleries, and a lot of it was actually exported as well. So the original Cromarty Brewery was established by George and Alexander Ross in 1790, and it's located next to a burn on the eastern extremity of Cromarty Village, which is at the northern part of the peninsula, but it's on the corner of Miller Road and Burnside Place, and it was quite a large brewery considering the times, and it's thought that the Cromarty port was actually used to export beer in addition to cereals and grains and all these other things that the Black Isle was famous for. But this brewery hit financial troubles in the 1820s when several of the whisky distilleries were opening up on the Black Isle, and this brewery ceased operations in the 1850s. This incarnation of the Cromarty Brewing Company though is actually a family one, and it consists of Craig Chapp and Jenny Middleton. Craig, of course, is a graduate of the brewing programme at Heriot-Watt University, and while studying at Heriot-Watt, Craig was well known to produce beer in his student halls and things like this, and after he completed his degree he worked for a period of time at Odell's Brewery over in Colorado, and also for the brewery in Aviemore, the Cairngorm Brewery, who produced some quite interesting, more traditional style of beers of course. But while working in these breweries, Craig decided that he wanted to make his own recipes and release his own beer, so he took a bank loan out and used this to finance the foundation of his own company. So Craig's dad Chap is the brewery engineer, and he's quite involved with the maintenance of the brewing equipment and things like that, while his mum Jenny maintains the books and does a lot of the business sort of things at the brewery. But over the last few years they've been expanding, and the work on the brewery actually commenced in the spring of 2011, and the year was really hectic for them to get the brewery going, but they finally produced their first beers in time for Christmas of that year. And over the last few years they've gained a lot of plaudits. They're one of the best craft breweries in Scotland, I think it's fair to say. These guys put out some really good beers, and they're constantly expanding. I think you can actually get these beers abroad now. I'm sure they are exporting, but they're one of the best known craft breweries that you're going to find in Scotland these days. And like I said, my experiences with this brewery in the past have been very good. So if you get the chance to try some of these beers, I highly recommend that you do. The Happy Chappy and Rogue Wave have been really good. The Black Hop Down was another one that I really enjoyed, and they always put out a really good beer for their anniversary every year. So if you get the chance and you want to try some Scottish craft beer, Cromarty Brewing Company is one that you really want to have a look at. So anyway, that's all you need to know about the brewery just now. Let's get on to the actual tasting of this beer then. So the stats on this beer: this one is an 8.8% double IPA. It's hot with Columbus, Centennial, Amarillo and Simcoe, and has a malt base of Maris Otter and Crystal malts there. 8.8%. Like I said, I think it was a 95 this one got on Rate Beer when I checked it out, but I think it had a 77 within the style, so that tells you it should be a pretty good beer. but it'll be a little bit quirky within the style. As I always say, rate beer gives you a fairly decent idea of how good your beer's going to be, but you shouldn't take it as the kind of gospel when it comes to it. But it says on the back here, congratulations, by picking me up you're already on your way to being a true craft beer believer. I contain absolutely no chemicals, preservatives or cheap nasty ingredients. Instead I'm bursting with awesome flavour. I'm an IPA for the person that just wants more. I am a man overboard. So yeah, nicely presented. This one is best before the 6th of April 2018, so well in date this one, and I just bought this one the other day at Hippo Beers, of course. So there's a little quick look at the artwork for you on this one. A lot of the beers, or all of the beers pretty much, that you get from Cromarty Brewing Company use this nice style of artwork. They're all just different colours depending on what beer you have, and there you can see the Cromarty Brewing Company symbol, the nice wave there. And of course I think their sort of flagship beer, if you like, is the Rogue Wave, and I think that's where this symbol comes from. You know, it's kind of that as well, and it's meant to be a nice C for Cromarty Brewing Company. But without further ado, let's get this guy out and we'll get on with the tasting then. So yeah, as you can see, a nice smoky opening to this beer, and we'll get it out and into the glass. And you can smell some of that nice orangey character. The Amarillo's coming out of this one quite nicely. One of my favourite hops, incidentally, Amarillo. I really love the IPAs. They've got a good bit of orange flavour to them, and Amarillo, of course, is the kind of the sort of classic orange hop. Of course, you've got Pacifica down from New Zealand, and you're getting Azacca and Mosaic these days that add some of it as well, but Amarillo was the kind of classic one back in the day. So yeah, as you can see, this beer has poured a really nice kind of bright orange. I'm not sure how well you can see the colour of it. It looks a little bit darker, but if I bring this one forward to the camera, there you can see it's got a really nice kind of quite bright amber colour to it here. It is a little bit hazy actually. It's not the clearest beer I've come across. If I put my fingers behind the glass, you can see that there is a little bit of opacity to this beer. There's about a half finger of a frothy white head, some big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, and quite a few little ones just going up towards the bottom of that head there. But overall, you know, it looks really, really quite nice. And exactly what you would expect from a double IPA. You can smell some of this nice kind of caramel malty character coming off this one. The malt base in this one, by the way, is Crystal and Maris Otter. But yeah, that smells really quite nice. It does have a good bit of a kind of grainy malt character to it, I would say. You can smell that nice sort of bready and grainy note coming out of this one. But yeah, nice bit of white breads, these kind of cereally notes. Maris Otter I always find gives you that sort of grainy, bready character, and I do like that. It's more a kind of British thing, I guess, or more of an English thing, I think, to use the Maris Otter malt in some of these IPAs. But it works out quite nicely. On the hoppy side of things with this beer, it does smell quite grassy and floral, which is what you would expect. I mean, the Centennial and the Columbus that are in this one are going to give you a good bit of floral aromaticity. You can pick up a little bit of the orangey notes from the Amarillo, and there's a wee bit of the passion fruit from the Simcoe as well. You can pick up these kind of telltale notes. Maybe a little bit of a kind of lemony citrus, which will be from the Centennial. The Centennial is known to give you this kind of this sort of lemony citrus and a good spicy floral aromaticity. The Columbus gives you a sort of peppery kind of spicy floral character as well. But it's really interesting, this one. There's a lot going on in the aroma here, but it does lean towards, it's the malty character in this one stands out to me. It's got a little bit of a kind of buttery, sort of bready, biscuity thing going on in it as well, along with those grainy notes. So to me, it's a little bit maltier than some of the double IPAs I've come across in terms of the aroma. But I'm sure, knowing Cromarty Brewery, in the flavour it's going to be quite packed with hops, I would say. It's supposed to have 100 plus IBUs according to the website. But as I always say, take a little bit of time and enjoy the aroma of the beer before you actually get stuck into it. But this one does smell really nice. It's got a good bit of a juicy, fruity character once your nose gets used to it. So yeah, so without further ado then, let's get stuck into this beer. So this one is the Man Overboard from Cromarty Brewing Company in Cromarty on the Black Isle in the Scottish Highlands. Slàinte. Yeah, that's a pretty damn good beer. You know, I've said for a long time, people have asked me who the best craft brewers are in Scotland at the moment, and I would probably say it has to be Tempest and Cromarty. These guys are consistently good. There are other new breweries that are kind of popping up and doing some really interesting stuff, but when it comes to these new wave American style craft beers, Cromarty are consistently good. Tempest are consistently good, and there's a few other guys popping up as well. Fine Ales are doing some awesome stuff these days as well. They're getting a bit more adventurous and doing some really cool things. But Cromarty, for a long time, these guys have been doing some good stuff. I mean, the Rogue Wave, I would always have said, was one of the best IPAs in Scotland. I mean, if you're going back to sort of 2012, 2013, when these guys were getting started, the Rogue Wave was one of the best craft beers that you're going to find in Scotland. There have been better beers that have come after this, some of them from Cromarty, some of them from Tempest, of course. But Rogue Wave is still a bit of a kind of nostalgia beer for me. But if you're really into your American style craft beers, then Cromarty Brewing are one of the best ones you're going to find in Scotland. I always think it's fair to say with Scottish craft breweries, you have to split them into the kind of traditional bracket and the sort of new world bracket, if you like. And I think Cromarty definitely are in the latter of those two. And they do it really well. This is a lovely kind of big, oily, boozy double IPA. This has got a good bit of hoppy character to it as well. I wouldn't actually have guessed that this one was over 100 IBUs. When it comes in, it's got a good bit of bitterness, but the thing is with the malt character, I'm finding with that, it actually mellows out really nicely, and your mouth adjusts to this one quite quickly because of the malt presence that the beer has. But that's really, really nice. So yeah, let's have a closer look at this flavour then. So, in the middle of your palate where the malts are going to come out, you can feel this nice bready malt base to it. There's a little bit of a grainy character in there as well. As I mentioned, the Maris Otter malt gives you this really quite distinctive grainy feel to the beer, and you can feel that in there. There's a good little bit of that boozy, almost caramelly note to it, and a wee bit of biscuity sweetness as well. The malt base on this one I think works really, really well. What I would say about this beer right away is I can see why it has the rating it does on Rate Beer. I mean, 95, it is a good double IPA, there's no doubt in my mind about this, but it's a little bit different from what you would normally expect, and it is that malty base that is the unique thing about this one. It is a bit heavier in terms of the malt base. It's definitely got the American hop presence to it, but in some ways it's got a little bit more of that kind of English malt feel to it, which is quite interesting. I think that's fair to say. It definitely has a little bit more, it definitely has some of the American malt character to it, but at the same time it has that kind of typically bready, sort of grainy, English sort of IPA feel to it as well. So it's a really good blend of the kind of traditional version of the style and the sort of new world version of the style. So a big thumbs up to Cromarty Brewing Company in terms of that. On the hoppy side of things, so in the back corners of the palate there is a wee touch of earthiness there, but as you come further forward along the sides of the palate, that's where you start to get the big floral aromaticity, and you can pick up a little bit of the spicy note there, which is coming both from the Columbus and from the Centennial. Both hops will give you this big, nice kind of spicy floral aromaticity, and on the very front corners of your palate you feel that sort of the kind of pinnacle of that hoppy bitterness there. As you go round the front curve of your palate, it's a little bit lighter and a little bit grassy, and of course just behind the front curve of the tongue, that's where you'll get these nice oily characters that give you the nice kind of juicy fruits. You'll just feel that come out in this little oily bubble there. So with the fruits in this one, I'd say there's a wee bit of kind of grapefruit just underpinning this one, but it's not too strong. It leans more towards the passion fruit, which is what you expect from the Simcoe. The Simcoe always gives you the kind of passion fruit note, and you can feel those nice oily tropical fruits just underpinning the fruity side of this beer. There's a little bit of the orange note from the Amarillo just kind of sitting on top of that, but I think it's the slightly darker passion fruit flavour that is kind of underpinning that. Yeah. You can just feel that. The passion fruit there is the kind of backbone of the beer, but on top of that you just get the juicy oranges, and there's a wee bit of a kind of lemony citrus note, and I think it's the Centennial that's giving you that. I tried one of the Cloudwater beers recently that really put Centennial at the front, and it was really interesting to get a proper understanding of what that hop can give you. It has this quite distinctive lemony citric character, and you can pick that up in this beer as well, mixing with the oranges. There's a wee bit of a sort of mangoey note in there as well, but for me the tropical side of the beer leans towards the passion fruits from the Simcoe. It has that dark, slightly oily character, but the oranges from the Amarillo go really nicely, and a little bit of that almost lemony citrus from the Centennial as well. The fruity side of this beer goes together really well, and I like how you get that darker fruity side of the character because it matches really well with that kind of graininess that you get from the Maris Otter malts. I mean, this beer is really nicely done, and it's quite quirky in comparison to what you would normally expect of the style. It just, that slightly more English malt base that it has goes really well with the American hops, and I would love to see more brewers kind of do this with the style a little bit. It would be an interesting kind of direction to take the IPAs in, because in honesty, I've never been such a great fan of the English style IPAs, but the ones that use the American hops and have a little bit of the malt base in there, mainly it's because I'm not such a great fan of English hops in lighter style beers. English hops for me are at their best when they're in the big dark imperial stouts and stuff, but this beer, I have to say, I really do like, so I would definitely go back to this one. There's no doubt in my mind about that, and I think it's fair to say that this is one of the best kind of double IPAs that you're going to find in Scotland. The other ones that I've heard that I should try is the Alligator Man from Tempest, so I'll need to have a look at that for you in the future, but this beer itself is a really, really nice one, and I recommend you have a go at it. In terms of the mouthfeel of this beer, I think it's fair to say that this one's mid-bodied. Yeah, I think it's fair to say this beer's mid-bodied. For me, the carbonation does have a little bit of a prickle to it, but overall it's got a good bit of softness as well. It's mainly an oily beer, this one. It's got a big oily mouthfeel. There's a good bit of hoppy bitterness. Like I said, it comes in quite intense at the beginning, but then it just mellows out a little bit, and I wouldn't have guessed that this was over 100 IBUs, I'll be honest about that, but maybe I'm just getting used to these, or I'm just a bit blind to some of these higher IBU beers now. But it's really, really nice. There's a good bit of fruity, juicy character, and like I said, the malt base for this one is the unique point of the beer. It's got that kind of typical caramel, boozy character, and a little bit of biscuit as you expect, but the sort of grainy, bready notes from the Maris Otter malt make this a really quite interesting and unique beer. So yeah, it's been really cool to try this one for you finally. I've wanted to try this beer for a long time because a lot of people have told me this is a good beer, and I can see what the hype has been about in this one, so it's always cool to return to Cromarty Brewing Company. They put out some really nice stuff, and I recommend that you have a go with this one. If you want something a bit lighter in alcohol, go for either the Rogue Wave or the Happy Chappy. Both of those are some really good IPAs, and this brewery are always putting out some very interesting stuff. So Cromarty Brewery is one that you definitely want to check out if you're interested in Scottish craft beer, and I certainly have been quite impressed with this one, so I'm glad that I finally got to try it. So yeah, once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Do let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below if you've tried it yourself. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Cromarty Brewing Company as well. You can check out my other reviews I've done from these guys before. But thank you once again for watching. I'll catch you guys very soon. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Make sure you check out my social media, and do make sure you try some of the Cromarty Brewing Company beers if you haven't had the chance to already. So until the next time, it's Slanger just now, and I'll catch you guys very soon. The man Overboard from Cromarty Brewing Company up in Cromarty on the Black Isle in the Highlands. Slanger just now.